If you buy a franchise and you're watching this, you can literally own 3 or 4 or 5 different kinds of businesses. And once you basically become very good at running systems. And so you realize I can just buy another system and run that too, and I love it. I love it. Now, con number 11. This is the final con, the wrath of con, if you will. So here we go. Is you have to pay those franchise fees. And some people feel like that is a terrible thing. Walk me through why some franchisees get a little frustrated with those franchise fees.
Well, the franchise fee is the fee associated with acquiring the license. The license is the way franchises operate. They grant you a license to operate their business model and use their intellectual property and brand to build your income, lifestyle, wealth, and equity with. So, they're looking at it from a standpoint of there's a fee associated with acquiring that. Franchisors go to great length to meet the requirements and be able to provide franchises in North America because of the regulations. And the fee is just designed to be able to recapture some of that so they have the opportunity to then work with you on creating dollar revenues in your unit so that the royalty stream becomes the profitability. Franchise fees aren't really designed to be profitability areas for franchisors.
And we have some other great content up on the Thrive 15 website here where you can learn more about this specific concept of it. But the regulations, as you alluded to, just to be able to run, if I'm a franchisor and I am the guy who came up with the franchise system, just to be able to operate in all the different states, there is an unbelievable amount of legal requirements and compliance and federal standards and all these different things. Can you walk me, just kind of on a high level, can you walk the people, the Thrivers through just kind of how much legal compliance there is to own a franchise like that?
Well, meeting the Federal Trade Commission regulations to be able to offer a franchise is putting together this extensive document that requires you to provide information in the same sequence that every other franchisor does. And some states require you to register those individually, which means you'll have attorneys working on all these elements. And once you have attorneys involved in multiple states, working on very extensive documentation that needs to meet a criteria, there's obviously an investment that needs to be made there, and that's costly. The idea of being able to take a franchise concept and create the beginning stages of an emerging brand just to get it out the door, you've got to invest in the training, you got to invest in the manuals, you got to invest in the personnel ahead of having a franchise come in. So the regulations and the costs associated with getting to that point are pretty extensive. But the good news is the Federal Trade Commission regulates offerings of franchises in the U.S. And it's the most highly regulated form of investment of any. Even the Securities and Exchange doesn't regulate stocks and bonds as thoroughly as the Federal Trade Commission regulates franchisors.
And I think also if you're watching this and you're getting frustrated with fees or the potential of paying fees, or you've heard about big fees, just as an example, with the DJ business, we had to do graphic design pieces. And you got to a point where I'm going, should I take $70,000 a year and just hire 2 graphic designers or a graphic designer to work here? Or should I just keep paying and subcontracting out and buying these different items? As a franchisee, the idea is the print piece is already made for you by corporate, and so you don't ever have to worry about that. And that's just one example of the kinds of things. Whenever I wanted to change my operations manual, I had to hire an attorney and make updates and all that. And when you buy a franchise, the corporate office does that for you. And so there's so many of those instances that are just a fraction of the cost that they would be if you were paying it for yourself.
Absolutely.
So there is just a ton of savings that a franchisee is going to experience if they buy a franchise as opposed to going at it themselves there. Is that right?
Absolutely. That's why franchises are flourishing and growing and have such a high success rate compared to doing it without a franchise system.
Now, final question I have here for you. You've been in franchising involved in it for the franchise industry for 30 years. What are you so passionate about? What keeps you going after all these years? Why are you so passionate about this?
Well, the passion comes from a lot of areas. I have always had a passion about empowering people to explore their possibilities and to go outside of what their comfort levels are and what their perceptions are, because that's really where growth happens. So it's been a passion of mine to motivate and empower more people to at least explore the options about being self-sufficient. 75% of the adult population has a strong to very strong desire to be self-sufficient, but the majority of us are scared to death to be self-employed. And my passion is to just give them a safe space to be able to explore that so they know what their possibilities are rather than just believing, as my father did, that you just go to work and you stay in that career path and then you retire. That doesn't happen in our society today.
Terry, I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. I know you're super busy. You're always flying all around the country doing great seminars and trainings, and I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to mentor the Thrivers all over the world. So again, thank you so much for your time.
I enjoyed it very much. Thanks, Clay.
Thank you.